There are two SpongeBob movies that have released, and both of them are extremely different from each other. Today, I'm going to be putting them head to head in a few categories, and we'll be seeing which one comes out on top as the ideal SpongeBob movie. Let's get started with the stories of each movie. The 2004 SpongeBob movie is a buddy quest with SpongeBob and Patrick going on a journey to Shell City so they can get King Neptune's crown back. Sponge Out of Water involves a real-life pirate stealing the Krabby Patty formula, and then SpongeBob and Plankton have to team up to get it back. From these two stories, I think the Krabby Patty formula one actually had some potential, but unfortunately it didn't turn out as well as it could have been. In the story category, I feel like the first movie is so much better. You have the main characters of the show, SpongeBob and Patrick, as they go on this epic adventure filled with action and comedy. It was also unique because King Neptune didn't appear too much in the original show, so I liked seeing him play a major role in the movie. Also, this first movie story was interesting because you never knew exactly where SpongeBob and Patrick would go. It was cool to see their journey unfold. However, Sponge Out of Water has a pretty predictable plot of SpongeBob and Plankton working together with their own different needs, and although there were some nice parts to it, I really liked the time travel parts. Overall, it felt like a generic story. Oh yeah, and the first movie had that Goofy Goober storyline, so pretty hard to beat that.
We're all goofy goobers, yeah! Goofy, yeah!
Next up, I want to talk about the comedy of these two SpongeBob movies. It's an incredibly important part because the show is supposed to be funny, and that should translate over to the big screen as well. In the first movie, the comedy was absolutely golden, and it's hard to go a few minutes without laughing. Patrick in the older seasons was one of the funniest cartoon characters, and it definitely carried over into this movie as he was in the spotlight. Movies can definitely turn out really bad if your comedic relief character is annoying, but in this case, Patrick made everything so much better. But in Sponge Out of Water, the comedy was much different. I'll admit that there are a few good jokes and random funny visual gags happening every so often, but there weren't any as memorable as the ones in the first movie.
A giant hairy porpoise! It's beached! It's suffering! Poor thing. Y'all, those aren't porpoises!
All hands on deck!
Brother.
We need to get these guys back in the water!
Come on! Push!
Eee! Eee!
I can sit here and think of so many hilarious parts to the classic SpongeBob movie, but only a few super minor ones come to mind when I'm thinking about Sponge Out of Water. I don't know why, but this second movie just didn't deliver well in terms of comedy. A few good jokes can't make an entire movie funny, and it seemed to lose the magic that was present in the very early seasons. Let's briefly talk about the creativity in both SpongeBob movies. The first one was a classic quest, nothing too special from that because it's a formula you see in tons of movies. However, the underwater setting and all the new locations made this a bit more unique because it's an environment that isn't explored too much compared to the typical adventure on land. For example, when they sang Now That We're Men, they were at a pretty cool trench with these sea creatures, and that was a unique place to visit. That's just a small part, but hopefully you get the idea. With Sponge Out of Water, obviously it takes place most of the time underwater, but I feel like the places they went weren't as creative as the first movie. Although I do have to admit the story was kind of unique because SpongeBob and Plankton teamed up and Bikini Bottom went against them. It was creative that we got to see a focus on Plankton on the good side since he's always the villain. Although I should probably mention that the part where they go out of water in the last third of the movie isn't too creative, especially since it's just copying what happened in the first movie.
So hot.
Oh, where have you been all my life?
This is uncomfortable.
The thing where they all dress up as heroes was kinda nice, I guess, but nothing too memorable. Overall, I would definitely say that the classic SpongeBob movie is far superior than Sponge Out of Water. The first movie was the original end to the show, and it had everything that you could want in a SpongeBob theatrical film, giving every character just enough screen time before the credits rolled. This movie was absolutely hilarious, and that isn't just nostalgia speaking. I've seen this more than a few times, and the jokes somehow managed to stay fresh. However, when I rewatched Sponge Out of Water, it sort of just exists for me. The one really good thing I could say about it is that the style is really awesome and better than the first, but that's to be expected since it's much newer. Sponge Out of Water is not a bad movie by any means, but I would call it forgettable if you compare it to the first.
Aren't you overreacting a bit? Welcome to the apocalypse, Mr. Squidward. I hope you like leather. I'm first, Wayne.
In my personal opinion, the ideal SpongeBob movie is the first one, and to be honest, I think it's one of the best animated movies of all time. But anyway, that's all for this video. Subscribe for more awesome cartoon videos. Give a thumbs up and comment below, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.